Hey everyone, this is Bradley Benner with ATM and or Lead Gadget in the ATM, I should say. This is the training and Q&A webinar for September 10th, 2015, at 7:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to go over some case study review stuff from the local case study that we started about 2 weeks ago, and just talk about some things with that. We're also going to go over some call center scripts that was requested last week. For the webinar last week, a couple people requested some call center scripts that I use for local lead gen and using a call center. And so we're going to walk through some of that as well. And then we'll take any questions if you guys have any questions. And that's pretty much it. So not a lot of attendees here at the moment, but I'm going to go ahead and take the screen and see who's here, if there's any questions yet, and then we'll get into what I've got and then answer questions following up. So looks like no one's here yet. All right, so the local case study, excuse me. We've been working on that for about 2 weeks, and there's two different sites that I had shared with you guys for the tree services, and this is the first one that I did a couple weeks ago. You can see I'm not getting any clicks yet. I've only had a few clicks. I'm surprised. It's not ranking all that well. It's only one site, and that's why we build 10 at a time, right? So that others can sometimes will outperform. Certain sites will outperform others, and sometimes there's really no rhyme or reason to it. It's what if anybody is familiar with Terry Kyle, he's an SEO guy that I respect a lot from SEO Traffic Hacks. He always calls it the random ranking factor. So sometimes you can buy, let's say, 5 domains, and you build 5 sites that are exactly the same, and one or two sites will outperform all the others by a wide margin, and it really makes no sense because they're all built the same. So it is what it is. There's a random ranking factor to Google and its algorithm. I like to call it an algorithmic anomaly. And so sometimes you just never know, and that's why you build multiple sites. So with that said, this one in particular is not performing very well, and this site's probably about 3 weeks old now. So if we'll go to Search Analytics, we'll take a look at it. Part of the reason I like to use Google Webmaster Tools, or what's now called Search Console, is because once connected, it will tell you the keywords that people are finding, or at least that your site has been given impressions for. So what's interesting is a lot of the times our websites or web pages will be ranking for keywords that we're not even aware of, or that we never even thought of. And we don't know that. And there is no way for us to know that unless we have a program that does that, which there's a couple of them, like Rank Reveal is one of them, rankreveal.com, I believe it is, which comes with a monthly expense, or something like what I like to use, which is Google Search Console, formerly Google Webmaster Tools, because when you connect it to that, Google will show you what it's been given impressions for. So, and in this case, this isn't the best example, only because there's a lot of, these are pretty straightforward keywords that people search for. But you'll notice in a lot of other industries that you'll find keywords that your site is given impressions for, long tail keywords that you probably would have never thought to optimize for. But when you see that your site has been given an impression for that, then that means somebody had searched for that term and your site showed up for it. And so a lot of the times it will reveal additional long tail phrases that people are searching for to find your products or your services. And then you can make a note of it and add it to a keyword sheet so that you can optimize for those keywords going forward. And so there's a lot of discovery that I found using Google Webmaster Tools. And so that's why I like to use it, because it does my rank tracking and my keyword research and discovery for me. And it's free, guys. So again, some people don't like to use Google properties and connect them to their website. That's fine. Do what you want. I'm just telling you how I do it. If I click on the impressions button here, you'll see that my impressions are going up. It's only, like I said, it's only been, the site's maybe 3 weeks old. Looks like it was born on 8/19. So yeah, about 3 weeks old. And you can see my impressions are going up. Clicks aren't really going up yet. So I don't know. This site might be a dud, and that may be the case. But this is the one that I was sharing with you guys with the original case study. So I'm going to track this one, and we'll probably look at it for another couple weeks, and then we'll be moving on to another case study anyways. So, and remember, last week we set up a feeder site, what I call a supporting site or a feeder site, to link to this one. To actually, it actually doesn't even link to this one. So we'll look at that in a moment. That was another one of the sites that I built for Maryland. This one's for Virginia. So we're going to take a look at that as well. But so I just wanted to kind of point that out. So you guys can see clicks, impressions. If we click on click-through rate, that'll show. In this case, we have only 4 clicks, so it's not going to really register anything. But if we click on position, that'll show what our average position is, 54.4. But that's across all indexed pages, or all pages that were given impressions, or excuse me, all keywords. Okay, that a page was given an impression for. All right, so that's kind of misleading. So if we sort by position, which is what I like to do, you can see that my position with this particular site isn't doing all that well, because it looks like my best position is 17, which means page 2. So, with time, this site might do better. It might start ranking higher. A lot of the times that's all it takes. If you just leave it alone, within 60 days, the sites end up ranking better. Sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes they never do well. So we don't know yet. This site's still too young. I'm not going to spend a lot of time messing with it. Instead, I'll just build more sites and move on to other projects as well. And, this could end up returning a profit or giving me a return on investment at some point. Okay. And really, the only thing I got invested in this is a domain and a little bit of time. So not a big deal. All right. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys an idea. If we come down here, you can see that it's been given in total impressions for 487 keywords. Okay. And if we go look at the actual, let's go look at the site maps, you'll see the index rate. There's 765 indexed pages for this. And remember, for this particular site, I don't know if you if you remember, but I did not set the tag pages to index. I set those to no index on this particular site. And it was kind of a test, because on most all sites, I've left the tag pages to index. And typically my impressions will be way higher than this as well. So this might be part of the reason why this site isn't doing so well, is because the tag pages were set to no index. And an interesting experiment with that would be, and this was just an experiment, but an interesting way to see if tag pages have a significant impact on the impressions and the click-through rate and the positions would be to log into the site and set the tags to index this time. So to remove the no index from them, and then submit the tag site map as well to get the tags indexed, and then that will see if that makes a significant difference on these numbers over here. And it very may well. I suspect that it will. But again, this was kind of a test. So, but what's interesting, like I said, is you can see for 487 impressions, these are the keywords. So if we scroll down and we show 500 rows, now you'll be able to see the entire spectrum of the keywords that it's been shown that the site has been given an impression for, no matter where. Even if, as long as it's in the top, looks like it's going all the way to the 200th position, which would be 20 pages deep. Right. But this is where I said you can find keywords that people are searching for that you never even thought of when you were doing your keyword research to build the site out originally. All right. So hopefully you guys get that. You can actually export these lists and everything else. If you're looking to download it, you can just download this and it'll download the data for you, which is a great way to grab your keywords for another site build. A lot of the times what I like to do when I'm going into a new industry, like I know this industry well, but in going into a new industry, especially with the ATM site builds, is to build a site with the keyword research that you would typically do. So going to like Google Keyword Planner, grabbing keywords from there, using any external keyword tools that you have. My favorite keyword tool is called Power Suggest Pro. That's a great keyword tool. It's very inexpensive. It's a one-time cost, and it produces some great long-tail keywords very, very quickly. So that's something that I use. But anyways, is to build a site out using your keywords. And it's going to ask me to enter my license key, so I won't show it to you. And then to build out a site and then connect it to Google Webmaster Tools or Search Console now, and allow it to sit or season for about 30 days, and then come in here and download this keyword list, okay, from what it's been given impressions for, and then go out and start building more sites in that same industry using the keyword list that you had already generated originally, plus adding in these keywords. And you can put them all into an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Doc, and remove duplicates. So you can, put them all in one column and remove duplicates. But a lot of times you'll end up with many, many additional keywords that you never even thought about that had been given impressions for with the original site build. And then you can go out and build more sites targeting the original keyword list plus the keywords that were discovered through the Search Console. And that will end up giving you a more robust site that's will end up ranking for even more pages and more posts and generating even more traffic. And likewise, you can do it again. So you can kind of snowball these builds to where they end up getting really big with the keyword list. Now, with national sites, that's a bit difficult because the sites can get incredibly big. But when you're talking about a local site and you do this, you can do this several times and end up with a site that's covering every possible keyword combination that somebody's ever searched for in the last 60 days, for example. Okay, so it's a very powerful way to continue to build out sites and make them better and better and just generate more and more traffic. Okay. So let's see if there's any questions, and then we're going to get into the feeder site. There's a couple people here. Let's see. Shiv says, when you talk about random ranking factor and to build multiple sites, do you use exactly the same content or change it up? It's a good question, Shiv. Often I use the same content for, it depends on how, what the content is. I've taken the same content before and used it on 8, even 10 sites. Okay. And some sites will actually rank better than others. And so that just leads me to believe and through, a lot of SEO testing, I know that the random ranking factor truly does exist because you can take, like I said, if I've taken eight domains in the past and put the same content and it's spun, but it was the same piece of content on all 10 sites or 8 sites or whatever, and had some better results with certain domain extensions over the others, but it wasn't like something that was repeatable over and over again across multiple niches with different domain extensions. It was just, again, just kind of a random ranking factor. So some sites perform better than others, and I don't know what causes that. It's an algorithm. So there are anomalies that exist within algorithms, and so that's all I can attribute it to. However, I've also taken, usually I don't like to use a piece of content on more than maybe 4 sites max before I switch it out. But sometimes you'll get a piece of content that works really, really well, and for some reason a site just performs beyond what you could have imagined. And so then I'll duplicate that content on other sites to attempt to try to get the same results. Typically, I do not get the same results. Every now and then you just hit a home run on one of these sites, and I don't know why that is, that just do incredibly well. And so I try to, at that point, duplicate those results across other domains. But oftentimes, again, it's kind of an anomaly, and one of those sites out, doing really, really well is just kind of, a bonus, like something that was unexpected and it's difficult to duplicate. So at least that's my experience. I'm sure there are others here that have had different experiences. Is it okay to use the same content for multiple subdomains on the same root domain? See, that's where I don't do that. So for example, I will use the same content as between 2 to 4 sites usually before I switch it up. It just depends on how quickly I'm trying to build out a site. 4 sites is a good number in my opinion, and again, that's just how I do it personally. So I don't if I'm doing the same piece of content, I like to use different domains, and I always build on subdomains anyways, guys, but I would build on different subdomains on different domains with the content. Now that's just me. I don't like to use the same piece of content on multiple subdomains from the same root domain. Okay, again, I haven't really, there's no reason for that. I haven't tested it other than the fact that I like to spread that risk out across multiple root domains so that it's more unique, other than just having a separate subdomain with the same root domain, because it's the same piece of content, then that looks, incredibly fishy in my opinion. So again, I have not tested that. I'm just telling you that that's my reasoning behind using multiple domains with the same piece of content. If I'm using several subdomains on the same root domain, then I usually just use different pieces of content for each subdomain. Okay. And, I've broken that rule occasionally, but I typically, that's how I like to do it, if that makes sense. Okay. And that's just to spread my, my risk out across several domains so that it's not the same piece of content on the same root domain, you know, multiple subdomains. All right. And that's just, again, just how I like to do it. So let's move on for a minute. And all right. So this was this feeder site that I built last week. And I built it just the day before, or actually maybe even the day of the webinar last week. So it's only a week old. And this one was the local site that I built based on the one county in Maryland. And it was Montgomery County. And I used 401 keywords and covered every city plus zip code in the county of Montgomery, which I think ended up being like 73, I believe. Maybe it was 27. I can't remember. But it ended up being a 29,000 post site covering one county, which I thought was pretty impressive. You know, that's a really, really big site for one county. And so today, this is the first I'm actually looking at it in a week because it's not something I've looked at. And you can see that I've only so far to this point been given 71 impressions, which is very small, but the site is only a week old. Okay. And so I've had 0 clicks at this point. Okay. And it looks like my average position is 41.5. But again, the site only being 7 days old, maybe 8 days old. You know, there's not, I don't sweat about these things from only being a week old. Usually around the 30-day mark, if I'm not seeing any, you know, it's not being indexed well, or I'm not getting clicks, or if my impressions are real low, then that's when I start to worry about the site and think that it's just going to be a dud. Although, like I said, I've had sites, guys, that I've built, and just because they weren't bothering anything, I left them up. They weren't performing well, but instead of me just going in and deleting them, I left them up, and within 90 days. So like usually I like to see a site start to perform well within 30 days. I give it 30 days to kind of incubate or to kind of season, and expect it to do well by then. But then usually after the 30-day mark, if it's not doing that well, I kind of just abandon it and go on to other stuff. You know, I mean, I'm always going on other stuff anyways, but I just kind of forget about it. Occasionally I'll leave those sites up though. And sometimes, like within another 30 to 60 days, I've had some sites that have just been like flat out winners, but they took up to 90 days to become that way, and with no additional work involved. I had a mortgage site that I was using for mortgage leads before the updates to the ATM. The site, I lost the site during all the updates that we went through, but I left it alone. I didn't expect it to perform well. I really didn't. And about 70 days into it, I went back and checked on it, and because it wasn't doing well around the 30-day mark. So I waited about another 30 to 45 days, something like that. And I went back to check on it, and that thing was receiving 1,800 clicks a month at that point. So, you know, that's a lot. That's 60 clicks per day that I was getting to that site. And it was a nationwide site, but I was really impressed with those numbers. And so I just want to let you guys know that, like, you know, sometimes sites will just be runaway successes, even though they don't look like it up front, if you just leave them alone. So if you have server space issues, then, you know, I'm quicker to delete sites that aren't performing at a certain time level, you know, time limit. But if you're not having server space issues, I suggest you leave them up sometimes beyond what your typical wait time is, to see if they'll end up performing well, you know, just further down the road. So, okay, with that said, this is the feeder site that I built last week. If you guys do not understand what I did for this particular test, then I created a playlist that you can find on the YouTube channel. So youtube.com/lead gadget. I think it's got a custom URL. If not, just go to YouTube, search lead gadget, and you'll find the channel. And there's a playlist in there, a local feeder site playlist. And you guys can check that out, because I recorded all my steps in setting it up, and, you know, my reason, the methodology I used for it and everything. And then we talked about this last week during the webinar. So right now, only 71 impressions, which is low. That means it's only been 71 keywords that it's been shown for. Let's go ahead and show all 71. Come on, try it again. It's not working. Huh. Let's try it again. It's not working. Or maybe it's only been, there's only been 15, excuse me. There's only been 15 keywords that it's been shown for, but it's been shown 71 times. That's what that is. So my apologies. But you can see it's interesting, because some of these keywords are real long tail. Remember, I built this site out using 401 different keywords. So many of these are probably already listed on the page as a tag or something like that. If we go take a look, let's see, options will allow that. Here's the keyword, and if we went with, let's see what the position was for that. 38. So that's saying the average position was around page 4. Also, if you click on the actual keyword, let's do that. It'll show you the page that it should have ranked for. Pages here. And it looks like 3 different pages got ranked for that particular keyword, or they got shown impressions for, if you guys see that. Okay, so these are the 3 here for that particular keyword, and these are the average or the position of those when they were shown or given the impression. So you guys can see a lot of data can be discovered from here. Now, again, this site is very new. If we go take a look at the crawl, look at the site maps, we'll see that we have out of 39,000, and I have tag pages set to index on this one. That's why I submitted the post tag site map. You can see that there was, you know, I had in my settings in the plugin, I only, you can only show 10,000 entries per sitemap page. And so the post tags only show 10,000, but you can see I submitted 39,173 pages and posts from this site, and only 4,500 are indexed at this point. Okay. So this thing's not fully indexed. Again, it's only about 7 days old. It looks like it was even processed on September 6th. That's interesting because that's only 4 days ago. Okay, so not bad though. 4,500 in a week is not bad at all. Let's go take a look. If we go to site:/md.tssrm.org. Yeah, see, this is showing in the fresh index right here because Webmaster Tools or Search Console lags in updating their data. But right now, currently, as we just searched, there's 7,950 indexed posts and pages on this site. Okay, so it's indexing well. Now, is it going to have an effect on its intended target? Is the question, right? And that's, again, guys, this is an experiment. Never done this before. I wanted to test it, but let's find one here. Let's just find a page. Let's use this one. So you can see here, these are the links right here underneath the video on all 29,000 posts that I'm using to link to the target site, which is another one of these sites that I built in Maryland. So if we click open link, this is the land. I'm using the WP overlayer on this, but I was essentially trying to target any post or page on this domain, which is maryland.treepros.xyz, to see if I could get any one of the Potomac posts or pages to rank higher. So I built this entire site to build links to that. So the referring domains is going to be 1, but there should be 29,000 backlinks once everything's indexed. In fact, even more considering the tag pages here. So again, I don't know if that's going to work or not. It was totally an experiment, but what it does is it gives me keyword anchor text diversity. And this one you can see, and I've got, it's both no follow and do follow links. I've got it set to random by the way I built the site. So if we look at, let's look at this one. We'll scroll down. This says tree pruning tools. And let's see if it's a follow. This is a no follow link. You can see the strike through. Look at another one, when to trim a tree, and it will be follow or no follow. This is another no follow. So you can see that I just basically changed the anchor text, and they all link to one of these maryland.treepros.xyz posts that are in Potomac. I think there was like, I don't know, 13 or 17 URLs that I used as target URLs. That makes sense, guys. I'm not trying to confuse you. Again, this is completely a test, and I just wanted to share with you guys the results of the test as we go forward. We'll probably spend another week, maybe 2 weeks throughout about this local case study before we move on to something else. And, you know, hopefully we'll see some results from it, because if so, it'd be a pretty cool method to use to help us to rank existing ATM sites. So, okay. Looks like there's no other questions. So what we'll do is we'll get into the call center scripts. Excuse me. All right. If you guys have any questions about that, let me know. I've got 2 call center scripts I wanted to share with you guys, just because these were requested last week. So for the benefit of those that requested them, they're here. these are call center scripts that I use in my own lead gen business. And I've got a couple examples of them here. Just so you guys know, the service that I use for call centers is called AnswerConnect.com. I've been using them for about 4 years now. They're really, really good. They're really easy to work with. Their customer support is excellent. You can call them up on the phone and get them on the phone at any time to be able to handle any support requests. And what I like about call centers, guys, when you start to drive phone calls to a call center, then there's somebody there answering the phone 24/7. So a call never gets missed. And that's really important when you're doing lead gen, because a missed call is lost money, right? So having them answer the phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and take lead information makes your job so much easier and more lucrative for that matter. So if we go back and take a look, let's just click on any one of these here. Okay, so this is a landing page, and right now you can see I have an 800 number here, which is actually this is for, I have this actually, if somebody calls this number, it goes to my call center, okay? And they answer the phone using, in fact, one of the scripts here that I'm sharing with you guys today to answer the phone. And so I made it generic so that you guys can just make a copy of the file and then insert your own details. But this is the exact same call script that I'm using for Answer Connect today and for this particular business. And you'll see that here in just a moment. So here's two that I shared with you. They're right here on the events page, guys. If you scroll down, you'll see there's links right there. You could open those links up and download a copy of it, and then you can edit as you see fit. Okay. The first one is, let's go with this one. This one was, I was generating leads for a mortgage business for a while. So this is one that I had set up for that. I am no longer generating leads for that company, but it's, this is one that I had for mortgages, and you can see, this would be the whatever company mortgage name, or, the mortgage company's name. And in this case, it was, and the, John Doe team, how may I help you? And so this is essentially what the call receiver on the end that, picks up the phone from the call center. This is what they'll ask. And it's kind of like a choose your own adventure. In other words, based on the questions or responses that the caller says, they have responses that are canned here, that they basically will just look at the script and be able to answer the questions, or ask questions based on what I've put here. Okay. And they, they're talented, or skilled, I should say, call center people. So, they can ad lib a little bit, but they tend to try to stick to the script as much as possible so that they don't give out any misinformation. But they're quite good for the most part. Every now and then they got some that aren't that great, but for the most part they're pretty good. So I'm not going to read through this. You guys can read through this, but you can see how it's basically, there's a couple different options here. And then at the very end, we tell them to send the lead data via email and text to whoever it is that we designate to receive the data. Like, for example, I always have the lead data emailed to me. I get a copy of it as well, so that I always have a copy of all leads throughout the day sent to me, so that I can compare that with my service provider to make sure that I'm getting paid properly for the leads that I generated. Okay. And also they do have live call transferring, which means they can transfer the live call. I like to use a call center where they capture the lead information first, and then if they're going to do a live transfer, they do it after they captured the information. That way, if the live transfer call doesn't go through, or if the service provider is busy and is unable to answer the phone, we've already captured the lead data. Okay, and at that point, it's still a valid lead, and I get paid for it. All right, here's tree services for it. This was what I used to use a couple of years ago. Now I've got, and actually this is actually still in effect for some of my tree service lead gen sites, this particular script. But the other one that you just looked at from this page here, if you call this, please don't call this number because it costs me money. But if you did call this number, it goes to Answer Connect, and this is the call. This is the script that they use. There's multiple locations with this business because I have set up Google Maps listings for this business as well, and we're covering about 8, actually now 10 cities with this business in particular. And so there's a separate section here on this call center script that, and I put it in highlighted because it's very important. If a call comes in from Google Maps, which happens from time to time where they try to re-verify the data, the listing data, I listed all the physical address data, the physical location information for the call center people to be able to, say, oh yeah, the business name is here. This is their web address. This is their mailing address. This is their phone. Do customers come to this location? This is a service type business where obviously tree service people go out to the customer location. So you'd say no. And then the hours of operations are listed. And that's very important because if you guys are using maps at all for lead gen properties, Google Maps and Google Plus local pages, and you do not have this in a call center script and they call to verify the details and your call center people can't confirm or verify your details, they will oftentimes pull your listing out of Maps until you can confirm it. And sometimes it can take days before you get up with one of the Maps representatives to be able to get it, verified. And so during that time, you'll lose your Maps listing. So, and I learned that the hard way. That's why this is in here now, because I've had that happen in the past. Okay. So again, send all lead data at the very end. It gets texted out to the contractor and emailed, and then I get a copy of the email as well. Okay. So if you guys have any questions about that, let me know. It's pretty straightforward. Obviously, you'd want to write your own scripts for your own businesses, whatever you're generating leads for. But I thought this would give you guys kind of an idea of how to write these scripts. And again, if you're interested in using Answer Connect, when you talk to them, they'll guide you through like best practices and stuff. So they're really helpful. Okay. Let's see. Nick Breen says, is it okay to use just one Cloudflare account for all the ATM sites? Yeah, Nick, it doesn't make any difference. I mean, if you want to use a couple, I think you can add 2 or 3 Cloudflare accounts now. But it really doesn't make any difference. Okay. Personally, I don't think it makes a difference. If you wanted to just be extra careful, you could, I think you're allowed to add 2 or 3 Cloudflare accounts to the ATM, and then you could switch through them. So that's up to you. But the only difference is that it's just going to change your name servers. That's it. Because your IP, there's a block of IPs with Cloudflare that, because they use what's called a reverse IP. So you have your server IP. And when you use Cloudflare, it masks your server IP and it shows a Cloudflare IP. And they have a block of IPs that is used across all the sites that are that use Cloudflare for DNS services, right? So you get masked within or grouped or lumped within all of those other sites, which are thousands of sites, I'm sure, maybe tens of thousands of sites that are using Cloudflare. So your IP gets basically masked and buried with everyone else's. So it makes it hard to target. So that's a good thing, because if you had your server IP and let's say you had 200 ATM sites on your server and you were showing the same IP across all of them, then Google could just come in and basically de-index any sites on that IP, and it could de-index all of your sites if it wanted to. And so that puts you at risk. But Google is not going to go in and de-index sites based on IP that's a Cloudflare IP, because otherwise it would, the unintended consequences, there'd be a lot of collateral damage. Let's put it that way. There'd be a lot of other sites that got hit that were caught up in being de-indexed because of, a couple bad apples ruin it for the many, you know what I mean? So the reason why we use Cloudflare, excuse me, is to bury our IP or to mask our IP and lump it in with everybody else's. But there's a finite amount of IPs. They may be adding more. I'm sure they are on a regular basis, but there's still a finite amount of IPs. The only thing is, when you have one Cloudflare account, your name servers are going to be the same across all of your sites. Again, they're generic name servers for Cloudflare. So there are many, many other sites that are also using those. But by having multiple Cloudflare accounts, the only thing that's going to change is those name servers. You're going to get like a Carl and Chloe, or a, I don't remember all of them. There's a whole bunch of different names, name servers, but that's the only thing that's going to change, because your IPs are still going to fall within one of those blocks of IPs that Cloudflare uses. So it's really unnecessary to use multiple Cloudflare accounts, because it's not going to really hide any footprint. you don't have a footprint because the footprint is so big already, if that makes sense. Okay. So hopefully that's clear. Besides that, guys, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to wrap it up. If you do, post them now. I'll give it a few more minutes to see if there's not a whole lot of people here. I know this is the 7:30 a.m. webinar. Typically, the attendance is very light on these days. But if you have any other additional questions, please post them in now. I will answer them. Otherwise, I'm going to wrap it up, and we'll continue with this next week. And then I think the following week, we're going to start with a new case study. We'll do some affiliate stuff probably. So any questions, guys, post them. And also remember, if you have any questions during the week that you want answered, during the call, if you post them on the events page ahead of time, it'll give me a chance to prepare for them. And sometimes that I can, actually have training prepared specific to your question. So just keep that in mind in case you have anything that's like bugging you or that you need additional help with. That's something I don't mind doing, but I need a heads up and time to prepare for it. So, okay. All right. Well, it looks like there are no other questions coming in, so I'm going to wrap it up for the day. And I will see you guys next week. Next week is the 7:30 p.m. Eastern time webinar, so it's the evening webinar. Typically, the attendance is greater then. So we will see you guys next week. Thanks for being here.